Hey guys, so I needed to take a bit of a break after my last video. I'm sorry for my radio silence, but a lot of people have been asking, I guess, how parents can get themselves involved in this. And I can't speak from the perspective of a parent because my instinct is to protect my child and to make sure that this never happens to her. Which is in hyperdrive, considering that the same monsters who did this to me have her right now, but I digress. The way that I ended up into this, to a degree, was I was adopted at birth. So first and foremost, I was not my parents' biological child. I was nothing more than a means to an end. I was nothing more than their retirement. That's all they wanted from me, that's all they cared about from me, and that's all they treated me as. At least, anyway. But certain instances I did want to talk about and I did want to bring up to give you an idea, because I mentioned plausible deniability and how sometimes these things would happen, the parents wouldn't know. Some of these would happen at camp. I went to Jewish Community Center camp, JCC, and we would go away based on our age, depending on what age group we were in and all that kind of stuff. But we would go away on trips to different locations, and during the day it seemed nice and normal, and everything was great. We'd go to amusement parks and museums, and we went all over the place. But at night, sometimes we'd be taken out of our, I guess, sleeping bags technically, and brought to parties or events and stuff like that. So these things were happening, and I don't know how much my parents knew about this directly. Now, I've tried bringing this up with my mother, and there are some things that I've told her, like, for example, about my psychologist who was raping me as a child during our sessions. I told this to her, and she genuinely had no idea. She genuinely had no clue. And there are other things that I've brought up where I can just tell from body language that she knew more than she was willing to say, but she was very uncomfortable talking about it. Now, I haven't bothered bringing any of this up with my father because he is completely an absolute lunatic who cares nothing more than about his business and about his income and about his money. So he's just a complete and utter monster, as some of you already might know. One particular scenario, or it's multiple times this happened, but a few that I did want to bring up, was that sometimes I would be brought back from these parties or events and stuff like that my parents were not at. So I would be driven home in the car or whatever vehicle the person had. I'd be driven home and I'd be given a wad of cash, a wad of money that, and I apologize if the size is wrong, I was much younger, so it seems, much bigger. It was probably about this thick. I don't know. I'm sorry. And I was expected to kind of just put it in my parents' bedroom on the corner. The dresser was right by the door, and I was just kind of expected to just drop it off and leave it there. Well, there was one particular incident where, excuse me, I don't remember what I did, but I'm sure I did something amusing. And I managed to piss off whomever had me that night. And they called my parents, and my parents were supposed to met us outside of the car. I was dropped off, and the person threw the wad of cash at the car window, out the car window, and it ended up becoming undone and flying all over the place, all over the street, stuff like that. And my dad just kind of laughed at me and said, well, this happened because you didn't listen to him, so you're going to clean it up. This is your mess to clean up. If you, had listened and if you had behaved yourself, he wouldn't have done that, so this is your fault. And my parents went inside, went back to bed, and I was left outside in the street cleaning up the cash that my parents received from me being raped the night before. So that gives you an idea on the type of people we're dealing with. These people have no empathy. They have no compassion. All they care about is the dollar and how they're going to get their next dollar, and they couldn't care less how they get hurt, or I'm sorry, how they hurt others in the process of getting their next dollar. Yeah, that's about it for this one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to include, but not particularly. Nothing else is coming to mind. But, yeah, this whole bringing wads of cash to my parents and leaving it on the dresser thing was very common. I don't know how much they knew, how much I had to do, or what I had to do, or what was going on for those wads of cash. There is one thing I do want to bring up, though, before I go, is part of the plausible deniability. There was a situation in which it was myself, I was getting brought back to bed, and there were 3 other people there. And my mother had overheard this, had overheard sounds, and she came to check on me to see what was going on. And ultimately what they ended up saying to her was, it's nothing, don't worry about it, go back to bed. Well, why is everybody out in the hallway? Is Jennifer okay? What's going on? It's nothing, don't worry about it, go to bed. But why is everybody out here? What's going on? Go back to bed. But why is everybody in the hallway around Jennifer's room? And one of them specifically said, you know us, you trust us. If there was something wrong, we would tell you. Go back to bed. And then she went back to bed, and that was the end of that. So in part of that, there were a few nights, lots of nights actually, where I would come back from these sleepovers, sort of, not really. I'd come back from these sleepovers at stupid o'clock in the morning, and I'd be told, all right, Jen, you have an hour and a half to get some sleep, so go to bed and we'll wake you up for school. That was kind of my nights. My bedtime throughout my entire childhood was either 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And after I went to bed, I was taken out of bed and brought to these locations. And a lot of the times I would come back and I would be expected to go to school the next morning within a couple of hours. So, yeah, that's at least part of what the parents are involved in, and part of what they know compared to what they don't know, and all this kind of stuff. But when you're dealing with people who see children as nothing more than a means to an end, as nothing more than a retirement, or somebody who's willing to sell out their child's sexuality for their retirement or whatever, I don't even know where the majority of that cash went. I have no idea. I have no clue. I didn't see the vast majority of it. I have no idea where it went, and I will probably never know where it went. But this is a generational thing. It runs in the family. There's one particular flashback I have where, coming back from the park, I had mentioned it previously, it was next to the police station. It was called Grant. I think it was Grant Park. And sometimes I'd go there, and then there would be like these events at the police station that was right down the block, like pretty much right next to it. And things would happen there. And I remember one particular instance where I was being brought home, and you know how sometimes when you're on the phone and you can hear the other end of the conversation through the phone? Well, I was laying in the back of my grandmother's car at the time, and I overheard her on the phone with my mother saying, I don't want to pick them up from this. I don't want to pick them being my brother and myself. I don't want to pick them up from this. I'm not comfortable doing this. I don't want to do this. Don't make me do this. And I remember hearing over on the other side of the phone conversation my mom saying something along the lines of, well, my grandma had to, or, grandma had to pick me up from these events when I was dropped off, so now it's your turn to do this. So it's one of these situations where it's expected of them. It is your turn. It is, you know, it is one of those things that it is just thrown out there like, well, sorry, I had to go through it last time. It's your turn to do it this time. That's how entrenched and how, I guess entrenched is a good word. That's how entrenched this whole system is, where it's completely generational, and you can tell. You can tell that some of these people don't want anything to do with it, from their body language, their behavior, the way they act, the way they speak. They want it over, they want it finished. But then you have other people who gleefully take that cash, take that money, and are like, all right, I'll send her out to you tomorrow night. And these are the kinds of people we're dealing with right now. They have no problem subjecting their quote-unquote loved ones to this torture, but then if you act out, fight back, resist, and do anything for self-preservation, you're the bad person, and anything bad that comes from that is your fault. This is the type of environment that we are raised in, we are raised around, that we know. This is all we know, or at least all I knew. I'm sure that my experience is very similar to other children as well. But yeah, it's rough because I had a brother growing up. I had a brother growing up. He's still my brother as far as I'm concerned. And around the same time that I started acting out due to the sexual abuse I was enduring, he started having a lot of accidents, so much so that his nickname in school was Stinky. And I didn't think of it at the time because I didn't realize it at the time, but I wonder how much of his accidents were due to abuse and trauma that he endured, and what he went, and maybe he went through something similar to what I did. I don't really know. I haven't spoken with him about it yet, and I don't know if I want to talk to him about it yet, because shortly after he was born, he and I had a very close bond. We were very, very close. And I had discovered that they were trying to do things to him that they were doing to me. And I flipped out. I absolutely lost my shit. I went absolutely ballistic, wouldn't let anybody go near my brother. If anybody touched him, I would scream and yell and throw a tantrum and get violent and do anything I could to protect him. And I was sent away for a few months. And when I came back, he didn't remember me anymore. And that was very devastating because he and I had a very close bond. And after that, our relationship had never been the same. We managed to repair that in recent years, and I'm so happy we did. But right now, I'm on high alert to protect him, his wife, and any kids he might have in the future. I don't know what extent they may or may not be involved in this kind of stuff. I don't know. But the only thing I can do right now, I can't protect him. I can't protect myself. What happened to us has happened to us. But I need to protect his children. I need to protect the children of anybody who's coming up in this kind of situation. We need to be on high alert. We need to be very, very careful. There are a lot of people who were brought into this who want nothing to do with this. And it's generational. And by no means am I making any excuses for anybody. If this happened to you and you let your children get involved in this, then you are just as culpable as anybody else. However, once again, we need to take into account the fact that so many of these people have no idea. Honestly, a lot of them have no idea what they endured themselves. Part of the reason why they push for for us to get married in our, early 20s specifically, is because by that point, most of the programming and stuff breaks down by your late 20s. The 28, 29 club or whatever it is usually when, a famous person commits suicide or has an overdose or something like that in their late 20s. That's because their programming has started breaking down and they're not able to reestablish it. So it's a situation of better to cut their losses than to actually, than to keep them around. So a big reason why they encourage marriage beforehand within these systems and within these familial systems is so that way it's easier to keep them programmed and to keep them in this and to keep them under thumb. So, yeah, I think that's it for this one. I jumped around a lot. I thought this was going to be brief, but apparently not. That's about it. So, thanks for everything, guys. Thanks for your support. Thanks for, everything you're doing to bring attention to this and to expose it. And I'll tell you right now, I do know for a fact that they are scared. They are terrified. They are going through some extreme lengths to shut me up. And it's not working. It's not going to work. I've shown them that I will name people that I have seen. I will name what I know. I will name locations. I don't care if you are good, if you are bad, or if you are, I don't want to say neutral, because neutral, taking the position of neutrality in a situation like this puts you on the side of the bad guys, but I will name whomever I need to name and whomever I have to name. I will not stop. I can't stop. I won't stop. And I will not stop until these people are held accountable, arrested, and done with. So you can keep making your threats. You can keep trying to play your games. I see your games. I see what you are doing. I see all of it. Like, literally, all of it. It's really pathetic. Because I grew up in this. I was taught the games that you play, that you use to destroy families. I know every little fucking nook and cranny that you have that you can try and use. And I also know how to get around you. So, keep playing your games, keep making your threats. Everything that you are doing is being documented and recorded. It is being either posted via screenshots online, or I'm posting it in videos in here and I'm showing them in the videos. So, the more games you play, the more shit you expose and the more will be investigated. Keep at it. Watch what happens. All you're doing is making things worse on yourselves. If I was lying, and if I wasn't telling the truth, it would have been exposed a long time ago. All you have right now is hearsay. And yes, I'm aware that I'm also going based on my words and what I have to say and my experiences. The difference is I'm asking people to dig into me. I am asking people to dig into my past. I am asking people to look into me, look into my history, look into my family's history. Look into everybody that's associated with me and everything. That's the difference. I'm encouraging people to dig, to look, and to find things. And you're doing it too. And what have you found? The same exact things that everybody else is finding. Now, what do you think they're going to find on you? As Q says, these people are really, really, really stupid. So, keep playing your games. Keep trying your threats. Keep going through my shit. Keep trying to send me false documents and keep going through my mail. Please. I see it. I'm well aware of it. And I also see the fake mail that you're sending me. Yes, I saw that too. So, keep at it. I will expose all of it and all of you. And I look forward to testifying. I look forward to being in a courtroom and testifying to all of this. So bring it. Bring the worst you've got, bring the best you've got, bring everything you have. I will do anything and everything to expose you, and I don't give a flying fuck what if my dirty laundry gets aired, because I'm going to make sure all of your dirty laundry is aired. And you have a hell lot more dirty laundry than I do. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you, Patriots.